All right. All right. Welcome to How to Speak Maintenance, where we dive deep into the world of apartment maintenance to help identify opportunities and new tools, as well as demystify the world of facilities maintenance so that property managers and owners can better understand what our maintenance teams are going through. My name is Jason Fein. I'm here with Becca Ramati from the Texas Apartment Association Education Foundation. Hello, Becca.
Hello, Jason.
Before we start today, I was wondering if you would like to talk to our audience about your website and the new projects you guys have in the queue.
Oh, sure. Check out the TAA website, and under the Resource Center, you'll find all sorts of tools and guides and resources from the foundation focusing on recruiting talent, retaining talent, and advancing talent. And, these types of conversations, plus much more on things like onboarding, bringing new people into the industry, career fairs, so much there. So please check it out. Thanks for the plug, Jason.
Hey, anytime. Well, I'm excited. We have a returning guest, Ryan Mascorro with Camden Property Trust. Welcome back, Ryan.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be back, Jason.
Yeah. For those people that don't know you, what's your role at Camden and how long you been there?
Yeah, I'm going on 9 years. I've been with Camden 9 years, and my role is a market maintenance manager. I support all of our Austin teams. Anything maintenance needs and working alongside facilities, we collab with them and take care of our team members.
It's awesome. I know you do a good job. I got to work with you hand in hand. So thanks for coming and joining us today.
Of course.
Well, I'm excited about this topic. So let's paint a picture. I want everybody to close your eyes. No, I'm just kidding. Let's paint a picture, though. One that I hope isn't something that we're dealing with, though. I show up to a property where things feel tense. You can feel it when you walk in. The office staff and the maintenance techs are barely making eye contact. Everyone's short with everybody. Nobody knows what's going on, and they're not talking. Then I find out the maintenance lead just quit, or worse, everyone's on the edge or walking out. I mean, that's a bad picture, right? And it's going to lead to turnover, and that's something that we're always trying to fight against. So, the wild part is 9 times out of 10, the person that's wanting to leave might not be about pay. It's not even about the workload. It's about chaos. It's about being pulled in 10 different directions by people who don't understand what's going on, and everybody's not communicating. So my first question to you, Ryan, is what do you think causes this disconnect between the office and maintenance teams?
For me, I really think it's just that communication piece, right? You want to make sure that the communication piece and the bonding with your team members is always there. Just a simple check-in sometimes will help build that relationship with them. And also working with your manager to making sure we're spending time with them and make sure everyone's on the same page. Like you mentioned, Jason, turnover is a big topic, and we want to make sure we do anything we can to keep our team members around. We spend a lot of time at work, than we do from our own families. So again, making sure we build that relationship, making sure they build that trust, will keep everyone on the same page, and of course that strong relationship always helps the team stay in place. So.
Yeah. I mean, have you ever seen it where, the maintenance team comes in at 8 and then the office team comes in at 9 and there's just never like a good connection point? Like, are you seeing that at the properties?
Absolutely.
From time to time?
Yeah, absolutely. You come in, you kind of have your morning routines. You always have to take a break and just really connect with that lease, whether it's a leasing staff member or a manager. Just a simple good morning, check in. Hey, is there anything you need from me, right, to really get the day started? It's always a big plus.
Yeah. From your regional role, I mean, I'm sure you're seeing like a new perspective where a property manager, you're seeing it from the property manager's viewpoint, right? Where if they don't know what's going on, it might seem like they're micromanaging their maintenance team, right?
Right. Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, Jason, it's like, really going in and speaking with them and understanding what their needs are. First thing in the morning, if they have a game plan, I'm sure you have a game plan as well yourself. Just making sure you're working with them to understand what they need, what type of systems they want in place. So that way the day goes by smoothly. If we go in and we don't communicate at all, then there's going to be a big miscommunication piece there, and there's going to be a huge gap. And again, you want to build that relationship. You want to build that trust with them each and every day. So,
Well, Ryan, you said, we spend so much time away from our families at work. We should be, really trying to truly work as a team and make each other's lives and work easier, not harder. And so that's where a lot of this conversation comes in. How can we work better together? How can we help each other so that the work that has to get done gets done, but in a way that's positive and not negative and draining and makes people want to quit?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing is there's so many resources available for our teams on how we can communicate with them. Sometimes, we get the ball rolling, and sometimes we don't see them for a while. So, setting up whether it's a text thread with them or identifying, a resource like OneNote or even Teams, we can definitely, that's always available here at Camden. We can definitely connect with them there as well. Even a good morning text on there is sometimes something our teams really need, So absolutely working as a team and building that bond, a special bond with them is always a big plus for everyone.
Have you ever seen it where maintenance team comes in and they're starting their day? Their day plan. I'm going to tackle these tickets. I'm going to tackle these turns. We're going to maybe do these preventative maintenance projects. And then as soon as the office team comes in, they start kind of pulling the maintenance team in different directions. What kind of chaos do you think that would cause on the maintenance group?
Yeah, I mean, pulling away is never fun, right? If you have a special project you're doing and you're getting pulled, left and right, it's always a challenge. So that way you start that's the key, is like starting in the morning to, again, identify what their needs are. So that way you add it to your game plan throughout the day. So, if there's a special project or emergency that needs to happen, making sure that's communicated thoroughly is first thing. That way we can add it as a high priority every day.
Right. I also think it's important to make sure that the maintenance and office teams all have a general understanding of what is an emergency that we should be calling the maintenance team for and pulling them off of what their plan is. Because if I come in as a supervisor, and I used to be a supervisor, and if I have my team moving in one direction and then they got scattered throughout the rest of the day, and at the end of the day we came back and nothing was accomplished, then we're not moving forward at all. So it's important to be able to, like you said, communicate, get everybody together and say, listen, this is what we're trying to tackle. And these are the emergencies, right? I think we always go back to fire, flood, blood, loss of power, non-working toilet in a one bathroom apartment, right? That's the standard.
Exactly. Yes. No, absolutely. If training is a big thing with our leasing team and our managers, sometimes it's awesome. Like I used to spend time with the manager where they would come out with me on the field and see what we see, go walk the community with them. So that way they identify things that we see together. And there is an emergency, making sure we identify what is emergency and what is not, what is high priority, what is a low priority. Because of course, like you mentioned, Jason, they come in, they start reaching out. Hey, well, we have a clogged toilet. We also maybe have an AC that's not working. So of course, we're going to hit the AC first and of course, get to the clogged toilet when we can. But really identifying, high priority and low priority is definitely a big plus. And that way, it just makes sense for the leasing team to really, hold off on sometimes communicating, because over communicating can be too much too for our teams. If they're sitting 30,000 texts, it can get draining for our teams. So again, working as a team and, spreading the workload really helps.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You think the shop?
Sorry, Jason. I was just going to say, and 30,000 texts throughout the day is all it's going to do is slow down the maintenance team.
That's right. Yeah.
And so I don't know exactly how this, works best, but coming up with some sort of a plan or a threshold for what needs a text, might be important. I don't know what you've done that you've seen work with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I always had a chat with my team. It would be with the leasing team. It would be with the maintenance team. If it was emergency, pick up that phone and reach out, right? But if it's something small, add it to the text. We'll make sure that we put it on our to-do for the day. But a cool thing we like to utilize is OneSite. And the awesome thing about that is you're able to add notes. You're able to add pictures. So that's always updated. It really minimizes the calls. It really minimizes the text that you're going to receive from the team members, because they can easily access, that on one side and say, oh, okay, they updated the notes this morning. I don't need to reach out to Ryan for anything, or I don't need to reach out to the team, because they have photos already here. So I understand what's going on already. That is a big key. Whenever we started updating more frequently every day, updating our one site, we saw like lower text come in. We saw lower call volume come in. So communicating and using OneNote, we have OneNote that we use, using one site, making sure that's always updated. It's going to minimize the amount of, I guess, workload you receive from the office team.
I remember being under sinks, working on a faucet, and I'm not a very small guy, so there's not a lot of room to be able to move around and be able to get the phone out and be able to answer. And so answering a text or a page of some sort of, hey, what's going on with the washing machine in apartment 406? That's going to take time away from me finishing up my faucet. So
that's right. Yes.
And if you really think about it, like if you can cut out 10 phone calls from the office, right, and each one takes 10 minutes, that's a lot of time,
Yeah.
So it all adds up.
It
I think
does.
the shop has a portion in the chaos too. If the office team doesn't know what's going on and they're paging all the time or calling you when you're underneath sinks, and then you go to the shop and the shop's a disaster, how do you think that impacts the morale and the feeling of achievement with the maintenance teams?
Yeah. Well, I always, speaking on shops, I always think, the way you work is the way your shop looks. And it really starts in your shop. I think throughout the day, you have team members coming in and out of the shop, they're grabbing supplies, and of course they're working really fast. But if you have a well-maintained maintenance shop, it really shows you what your day is really going to look like. It saves so much time. Even, it's accessible to our leasing team and our managers, where if they understand that our maintenance teams have a big workload, and they want to maybe partake in some work tasks, going in and getting a battery, going in and getting a filter, and really collaborating with our maintenance teams to help them also. But yeah, go on the shops. I always love my shops to be clean. I always love my shops to be well stocked and well stocked as well with supplies. And I'm telling you, with that, it really turns your whole day around. It really turns your whole week around. Having a program also is super key with our shops. I used to call Shop Clean Out Friday. We get the team together and we clean out all the shop. That way, Monday, when there's emergencies or when there's leasing teams reaching out to you, you're ready to go. You're ready to start the whole week and you're ready for what's to come, whether it's a big priority tickets that come in on Monday. You're already ready and your shop's ready too. So
yeah, so I can only imagine. Shop's a disaster. You don't know what parts are there. The office team is calling you. You've got this overwhelming workload. Then all of a sudden you don't have a part. And so hopefully you're not robbing an apartment, and taking a part, to go fix an AC in another apartment, because that would just further just take your workload and your stress and build it up to the point where, yeah, I want to quit and I'm not even at that property right now.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So, but a manager reaching out and like managing the workload and asking questions, it's not malicious. It's just that they have no visibility into what the project is, what the project load is, and what's going on. So, you mentioned earlier OneNote and using one site. What other tools or communication systems have you seen high efficient teams use to be able to verify work is moving in the right direction and it's getting done?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall the huddle is a big important thing. Spending a couple minutes in the morning and having a huddle, because again, they're going to take off and hit the ball rolling quick. So having that huddle with your team, connecting with your manager, but utilizing like Microsoft Teams is big, or even starting a text message thread. Just, hey guys, how are y'all doing right now? It's we're on lunchtime. Is there anything y'all need from me? But really, just the check-ins are super important. And when you have one site available for them to give updates, or you have Microsoft Teams and OneNote, it's platforms that all our team members can use. It's platforms that our leasing team has access to, our managers have access to. So maybe instead of bothering a team member, they can easily go there and send an update or send a communication piece that whatever their need is, understand that need and make sure they utilize the resources available in front of them. So
definitely.
Yeah.
I think for any company, if I was a small property management company, one or two properties, maybe I don't have the Microsoft suite that maybe a large property management company has. Maybe, there's tools out there like Asana. I think Asana is one of those tools that you can make boards, and you can have the projects, and you can move them from different categories. So just another idea on how to be able to take project management out of email.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen that before, where teams try to manage workload through email.
Yeah, and every community is unique and every community is different. They have their different way of communicating sometimes. So, if it's a board or maybe another community loves one side, they don't even like using a board, that's what's awesome. Whatever works for you, keep doing it, right? So if you have OneNote that you love using, keep using OneNote, right? But that's the awesome thing is like some love using the board, some love putting updates on the board, or they need a part, they write it on the board, whatever works for you, just keep that system flowing.
Oh, you're not talking about a dry erase board.
Oh, no, not the dry erase board.
You can go back to one of our original episodes in season 1 to see how Jason feels about whiteboards.
Very passionate. That's great. I like the huddle idea. Going back to what we talked about earlier with the maintenance team coming in at 7:38 and the office team coming in at 9. And then at the end of the day, a maintenance team might leave at 5 and the office team might leave at 6. If you're passing ships and you're just never, stopping and connecting, then it doesn't work with my wife and I. If I don't talk to my wife and communicate about our schedule, then things don't go well in our house. It's a why. If it's not going to work at home, definitely not going to work at work. So I think it's a good point to make sure you're making time. Yeah. I remember when I was a maintenance supervisor, my manager came in at 9 and I would stop. I would make sure my team was moving. I would start my, portion of the daily walks. And then I would go in the office and I get a cup of coffee and get one from my boss and we sit down and we talk and we go through the list. And without doing that, you're going to miss the mark. So
we've heard that a lot on this show from different guests about how important it is for the maintenance supervisor and property manager to connect daily, whether it's at the start of the day, maybe, and the end of the day to plan for the next day. Ryan, where have you seen that successful? What's the key to making that happen in such a chaotic, busy day that you never know what it's going to be like?
Yeah, absolutely. I think overall, like you mentioned, whether it's the morning or the end of the day, it just has to be done. Yeah, when I was on site, I never left the community unless I talked to my manager. I just felt wrong doing it, right? So I would check in the morning, I would check in at lunch, and I would be sure to check in at the end of the day because there is something that they might have on their plate that they want you to tackle, and you want to make sure that it's not forgotten. So just connecting, and even with your team, connecting with your team members is super, super important. One of my favorite values is having fun, and I think overall we want to make sure that we're doing that at our communities and building that relationship, whether it's your general manager, whether it's your maintenance team. You want to put the smiles on their face. And I think you walking out the door and not checking in, or you coming in and like Jason mentioned, just, not kind of ignoring them. Of course, you're going to see the big turnover there, right? So making sure if you're not putting a smile on your team's face every day, something's wrong. You want to make sure you go in and put a smile on their face.
That's good. Well, building these systems and making sure that you're putting a smile on your team's faces, it all builds respect. Right. And that's what reduces turnover. It gives the team time to breathe, to think, to actually complete work instead of running from crisis to crisis. So, and this brings us to something we've been talking a lot about lately, which is turnover. It's hard to find qualified applicants. So making sure that we're making our people happy, putting a smile on their face, it's important. So keeping your team means giving them a place where they feel supported and understood. Not one where they're constantly firefighting without backup. So, what sort of ways are you seeing office teams building that support and understanding and making sure that morale and turnover is low? Morale's high, turnover is low right. With the main group.
Well, I always say, right, if you're having like a big trend on turnover, something's wrong, right? You got to find the missing piece that's wrong. So really identifying that from the start is super important. And again, like I mentioned, if there's a high turnover at all times, it's kind of concerning. Like, what am I doing as a leader? What am I doing wrong as a leader? Can I do something better? So going in and making sure that you're checking in at all times and collabing and training, right? Spending that one-on-one time with them, hey, spend the day with your team member or spend the day with your GM. that's going to build trust, and it's going to make sure that everyone stays always on the same page. So
that's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I liked what we were talking about before with the huddle. It got my brain kind of going about giving the maintenance team an opportunity to talk about what they're struggling with. When a manager says, "Hey, what are your struggles this week? What can I do to help you?" That I think that speaks volumes. It tells you that your boss cares about you and he's listening. They're listening to you and they understand what your struggles are, and they're willing to help out. And I think that's where the respect and the trust starts to build, and
Yes.
then you can be able to make sure that their roadblocks are removed. So
yeah, absolutely. That team huddle, atmosphere is always good. We can go in there, we can collab, we can even think of new ideas, right? Or if there's something that they feel like we're not doing right, they can definitely address it. But not only that, but also having that one-on-one is super important with your team member too, because some don't like speaking up in that crowd, right? Some don't like, talking with a big team setting. So not only when I was a supervisor did I have a huddle with them, at least once a month, I would even do a one-on-one check-in with each team member just to identify what their needs are. Because again, every team member is going to be different. One may need more training on a certain thing, and they're too embarrassed to maybe share with the whole team. So also spending quality time, one-on-one time, super crucial.
I remember there was a property up in Maryland that was struggling to hold people, and it's just a revolving door. Techs were coming in and they were getting stressed out and frustrated and they were leaving. And we got this new team and a new manager, a new supervisor, and they started up, zone of the week club. And they started these little awards,
Yeah.
and it was for things that they were doing on a regular basis. And the manager started asking the questions, what can I do to help you? What do you need from me? And so the team started to feel like they were heard. And then there was, and the award wasn't much. It was like a candy bar or like a free lunch for the week. And they were budgeted for free lunches. So, the team thought they were getting a little reward out of it. And it wasn't much, but it was also, they were performing and they were producing. So I don't know. It's teams. I love going around and visiting properties, because when you get one of those teams that's been together for 20 years and you ask the question, why do you want to stay here? What is it that makes you want to keep coming here? Maybe it's they have breakfast every morning before they come to work, or maybe it's they all enjoy lunch together, but they feel like a family versus just a task oriented group that just comes in and I'm a robot.
No, you have to show them off, right? You have to show them off. And I started a cool celebration chat with all of Austin maintenance team members, and our teams are always posting, and it makes that team member feel really special, right? And even if it's a small picture of training going on, or it's a special project they're working on, whether it's building of the week or zone of the week, showing them off keeps them there, right? They're gonna want to work for someone like yourself. If you're putting in your time to really, showcase what their true results are, showcase their hard work. And again, like a platform like Teams, whether it's Microsoft Teams, and they're using that to show off their team members, or even an email sometimes, definitely do so. I always post our teams when I'm on site. Every single day I'm out there taking pictures with them and showing them off, because, all the hard work never goes unnoticed.
Well, everyone wants to be appreciated, and a little can go a long way for everyone. But I think particularly we've talked a lot about maintenance teams just because they don't always get the attention that's deserved.
Absolutely.
Agreed. Well, retention doesn't just mean saying thank you, right? More often, it means building systems that prevent burnout. It means clarity. It means it starts with understanding what your teams, especially maintenance, are really juggling every day. I think in this call, we've talked about how chaos can build, how not understanding and not coming together to be able to figure out what are our projects for the day, the week, the month, the quarter, and what's the timeline. That those can set a real healthy foundation. So then that way we know when we can pull the maintenance team to do extra stuff and when we shouldn't. So then that way the maintenance team can be able to successfully complete their projects. And then making sure that the maintenance teams feel heard and understood, and giving them the forum to be able to talk. Maybe it's a morning huddle. Maybe it's a lunch with the manager. It's something to be able to give them that ability. So if you're a community manager, a regional, or even a maintenance tech listening in, here's your challenge for this week. Ask your team what they're working on. Ask how you can reduce the chaos. and think about how your property can better share priorities across the board. What tools can we use? What's available to us through our IT department or through free resources online? So, because we're not just managing buildings, we're managing people, and people thrive when they're seen, heard, and supported. So,
bravo.
Said there.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Ryan, do you have any suggestions or any cool tips or tricks that you learned in the past couple of months that you'd like to share? I always like to ask a weird question at the end. So if you don't have anything, you're totally fine to say.
Just working as a team always, building that special bond with your team. I'm hearing Dallas up and down our Dallas teams, hearing out what their needs are and, identifying their strengths, or if they have a low of the day, identifying that and always be there, right? Just always be there, always show face. And again, I'm going to go back to making sure that every day you're trying to put a smile on someone's face. I mean, I have a special place in my heart when I see that. So some cool tricks and tips is, taking them out to eat, making sure you're spending that one-on-one time and just show them off. I'm gonna repeat that. Show them off. Show off the hard work they're putting out there because, the peak of the season, it does get tough out there, and sometimes, you want to be heard. So yes.
Well, I'll brag on you right now. I mean, you told me before this call that you're at a property in Dallas. You're not even in Austin, and that's your home market. So you're in Dallas right now with a group of great maintenance employees and professionals, and you guys are all replacing water heaters at a property today. And I know, because I used to work at Camden, I know for certain that there's going to be a large team photo at some point in time. It's going to be shared out. And I know that you and Dom and Jesus are not going to take the credit. You're probably going to say the supervisor did the work and got this awesome team together and helped support us. So I think that's a true leader, and that's showing people the way and giving them the kudos that they need to feel supported and heard. So nice work.
Thank you. I love the photos. My phone is full already, and it's only 1:00. So.
Well, hey, tag us on LinkedIn and share those photos. Though.
Will do.
Thank you, Ryan, for joining us. So if anybody listening is interested in any of our previous conversations, you can find us on the go as a podcast, wherever you download your podcasts, as well as on Facebook and LinkedIn. So thank you, Becca, for your time, and I look forward to our next call.
Yes, thank you, Becca. Thank you, Jason, for having me again. That's awesome. So happy to be here, and hopefully in the future I'm able to jump on again. These are awesome, and I love going back and listening to them. So thanks for having me.
Thanks, Ryan, and thanks, Jason. We'll be back in July with another episode of How to Speak Maintenance. And quick birthday shout out to Sarah Chesbro from TAA's team. Happy birthday, Sarah. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.